Alright, hey guys, we're in Numbers 14 today. We left off in 13 yesterday, where the 12 um, elders, 12 spies, were sent into the land of Canaan and told to spy out the land. And 10 of them came back, and the report or verse 32 it says, and they brought up an evil report of the land. And then they began to kind of embellish the size of the people that were there, saying that they were giants and we were like grasshoppers. They might very well have been giants, but probably not to that particular ratio that they're giants and grasshoppers. Uh, but the reason that this is, deemed an evil report is in chapter 14, verse 1. It says, "And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron and the whole congregation, and said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God that we had died in the wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto the land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, Let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt." So basically, this is deemed an evil report because of the effect that it has on the people. Um, and it just goes and destroys what little bit of faith, if any, that these people had. And that reflects on how those people viewed God. They began to doubt God, that He was able to complete what He had started. And this is something that even Paul talks about, the fact that we've talked about how the book of Exodus, or the Exodus itself, not just the book of Exodus, but the Exodus itself of the Israelites from Egypt into the land, is symbolic of our Christian life, and how we get called out of the world and we start this Christian life, and that we hit these difficult times, and all of a sudden people are coming back saying, just throw your hands up and give up. Um, and that, it says a lot about what that individual's relationship with God is because they just simply lack that faith to continue to persevere. And that's not something that we should take lightly, because faith is in and of itself a gift of God. It's not that I have more faith than somebody because I have more intestinal fortitude or anything like that. It's solely a matter of uh, faith being a fruit of the Spirit, that is a gift of God. And we see that in Ephesians 2:8 and 9. Uh, so, but the reaction here is in verses 6 through 9, is Joshua and Caleb then begin to rebuke the people and say, what are you guys talking about? Have you not seen the things that God has done? And yes, these people are strong, and yes, it, on its face it seems difficult, but don't fear them. We have the Lord on our side. We'll be fine. And I want you to see, kind of once again, the heart of Moses, the heart of someone who truly has a relationship with God. Um, and the Lord said unto Moses, How long will this people provoke me, and how long will it be ere they believe me, for all the signs which I have showed among them? Now, God is asking a rhetorical question. He's not really asking Moses, can you tell me how long it's going to be? I mean, God is omnipotent. He's all-knowing. But what he's doing is he's creating a circumstance so that we, the readers down the road, can see the heart of Moses and can see the heart of God. And verse 12, he says, I will spite them with pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of thee a greater nation, mightier than they. Now, God is telling Moses that, look, these people, no matter what I do, they won't believe me. And we see that, we know that. They don't believe him because they don't have a relationship. Moses has a relationship. We see later on that Caleb and Joshua have a relationship, but But the people don't. The people are in it for what they can get out of it. Much like a lot of people, unfortunately, in the Christian life today, they have more of a relationship for what God can do for them than who it is that they can have a relationship with. But we see in verse 13, "And Moses said unto the Lord, Then the Egyptians shall hear it, for they brought us up this people in the might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that the Lord art among this people, and that the Lord art seen face to face, and that thy cloud standeth over them, and goest before them by day and by a pillar of cloud by night, or a pillar of cloud by night and a pillar of fire by day." You know which one, okay. "Now if thou shalt kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying, Because the Lord was not able to bring the people into the land which he sware unto them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness." So Moses is saying here, look, this really gives us an opportunity to see the heart of Moses, because when God is saying, look, I'm going to destroy these people and we'll just start all over, I'll just give you new people, Moses is saying, God, if you destroy these people, then other people down the road are going to look and say, well, the reason why God destroyed these people is because he wasn't able to deliver them. But I want you to see here that Moses is not concerned about the people in Canaan. He's not concerned about the circumstance. He's not even really concerned about the Israelites per se. He's concerned about how people view God. He's concerned about how people look on the Father, and this really says a lot about Moses, and it really shows the fact that Moses truly has a relationship with God, because he sees how his actions, the people's actions, God's actions, how all these things intertwine, and his greatest concern is how others are going to view God. And the Lord goes on in verse 20 and says, "And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word." So basically Moses asked God, he said, please don't kill the people, because I don't want people of future generations to think poorly of you, and please pardon these people and give them another chance. And the Lord says, I'll pardon them, but he goes on in the following verses and says, "But these people who have murmured against me, they're not going to make it into their land. Their children will, Caleb and Joshua will, but these people won't, because just like we saw in Pilgrim's Progress, those people who didn't have that relationship, who weren't truly called out and started that path, they last for different lengths of time, but they don't persist to the end, because it's only through our relationship with God that we have the ability to persist. It's not intestinal fortitude, it's not determination, it's not self-will. We see that with Peter, when Peter ended up, or he told Jesus that, I'd rather go to the grave than deny you. And Jesus said, yeah, you're going to deny me before the cock crows 3 times. And I don't think Peter really saw it as an issue in that particular circumstance, but what it shows is that Peter, trying on his own self-will, on his own determination, of his own strength, was trying to persist, but couldn't. And he ended up denying Christ. And then later on we see that that once Christ actually calls him out and fills him with the Spirit, he ends up going to the grave, just like he'd originally said. But it's not through our power and our own self-will that we're able to persist. It's through faith in God, that he will continue us, that he will sustain us day by day, that he will continue bringing us through, and that our job, just like these Israelites failed to do, our job is to just trust him that He will bring us through, and our heart is really shown in the same way that Moses is, that we trust God to get us through into the end, and that our greatest concern is that not necessarily that we get the job we're looking for, or that we get that raise, um, or anything like that, but that our greatest concern is how others are going to look on God when they see how He deals with us in our life. Um, and I think that really shows where our heart lies. So, something I wanted to share with you guys. All right, God bless.